Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. And today we'll be discussing the theory related to the chapter Human Reproduction. So, in today's session, we'll be discussing the theory from the point of view of NEET exam. So, I will tell you which topics are important, okay, from which topics the questions can come. I will tell you the weightage of this chapter. So, this chapter is very important. And this is the part one of the lecture. So, we will study some of the topics in this session, and some of the topics we'll study in the next session. Before starting this lecture, I just want to give you one information. The images, text, and other materials used in the presentations are for education purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathee@itk.ac.in and we shall remove the content immediately. Please note that parts of the content may have been generated using generative AI, which is experimental. So, what are the objectives of today's session? We'll talk about the male reproductive system. And within male reproductive system, I will tell you the parts of the male reproductive system, the functions of the different part of the male reproductive system. We will understand the anatomy of the testes. We'll talk about the male sex hormone, which is the testosterone. Okay, we'll talk about the semen, okay, composition of the semen and the process of the sperm transport. We'll talk about the female reproductive system also. And within this, we'll talk about the structure and function of the female reproductive organs. Okay, we will understand the anatomy of the ovaries, fallopian tube, uterus, as well as vagina. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about menstrual cycle here, not much. Okay, and then we'll talk about the female sex hormone, estrogen and progesterone. We'll also talk about the spermatogenesis, means sperm formation. So we will understand the process of sperm cell formation in the seminiferous tubules. Okay, we'll talk about the role of Sertoli cells in the Leydig cells. We will describe the structure of the mature sperm. Okay, next we will talk about the oogenesis. We will understand the process of egg cell formation in the ovaries. We'll know about follicular development phases, and we will describe polar body formation and maturation of the egg. Okay, so first of all, I will tell you the weightage and which topics are very important here. So we'll talk about this trend analysis in the NEET exam. We'll talk about the male reproductive system, female reproductive system, gametogenesis, which means gamete formation. Okay, so gametogenesis is a broader term. Within gametogenesis, we'll be talking about spermatogenesis and oogenesis. So here you can see the weightage of this chapter. So 3%. So weightage is 3%. And 3 questions come every year in the NEET exam from this chapter. If we see you can say the questions from 2018 to 2024, 20 questions have come from this chapter. Now here you can see the topic name, concept used, number of questions and difficulty level of the questions is given here. Okay, this is given year wise. So starting with 2024, 5 questions have come from this chapter, and these questions were of average type. Some of the questions were difficult also. The topic from which the question came were female reproductive system, gametogenesis, menstrual cycle, parturition and lactation. A concept, on which concept the question came, female reproductive system, oogenesis and spermatogenesis. Then 2023, female reproductive system, and then gametogenesis. Question came from these 2 topics, and the concept were menstruation cycle and female reproductive system. 2 questions came in 2023 from this chapter. Okay, so minimum 2 questions are coming from this chapter, maximum even 5 questions can come from this chapter. So mainly the questions are coming from the topic gametogenesis. Okay, Then, okay, gametogenesis in 2024, 2023, 2022 also. Then questions are coming from the female reproductive system, menstrual cycle, fertilization, implantation, male reproductive system, parturition and lactation, pregnancy and embryonic development. So all the topics are actually important. Okay. Here you can see from which concept the question are coming: sperm structure, parturition, pregnancy, oogenesis, spermatogenesis. Clear? Questions are usually of average type. You can see sometimes the questions are difficult. Again, in 2022, questions are coming from gametogenesis. So gametogenesis. So this topic is, you can see questions are coming from this topic every year, gametogenesis. Then menstrual cycle also, fertilization and implantation. Okay, and rest of the topic, pregnancy, embryonic development, parturition, and lactation, these are also important. Okay, these are the concept: fertilization, menstrual cycle, oogenesis, spermatogenesis. Okay, fertilization, menstrual cycle, spermatogenesis, pregnancy, hormone. The questions are coming from here. Clear? Questions are usually of average type. Sometimes difficult questions can also come. In 2018, an easy question also came. Let's start with this. Today's session, we'll talk about the male reproductive system first. The male reproductive system is located in the pelvis region. Here you can see this is the diagrammatical sectional view of the male pelvis showing the reproductive system. Okay. The male reproductive system consists of the testes. So there is a pair of testes which is located in the scrotum. Okay, then you have the accessory ducts, accessory glands, and the external genitalia. Here you can see prostate gland, seminal vesicle, bulbourethral gland. These are the accessory glands. Then vas deferens. This is the accessory ducts. There are other accessory ducts also which are not shown here, like greater testis, epididymis, vas efferentia. These are also accessory ducts. You can see glans penis, which is basically the head of the penis. And this glans penis is, you can say, covered by this foreskin, which is just nothing but loose fold of the skin. Okay, penis is the external genitalia. It is the copulatory organ. It helps to transfer the sperm into the female genital tract. You can see the ejaculatory duct here also. Rectum and anus is a part of the digestive system. Okay, so we will understand all of these, you can say, parts of the male reproductive system. We'll talk about these. Now, the male reproductive system consists of a pair of testes, means two testes are present. Okay. Testes are the primary sex organs. So what is the function of primary sex organs? They, you can say, produce the gametes also, and they produce the hormones also. So testes produce the male gametes, which is the sperm, okay, by spermatogenesis, and they also produce the male hormones, androgens, okay, such as testosterone. Then, apart from the primary sex organ, male reproductive system also consists of accessory ducts, accessory glands, and external genitalia. Testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity within a pouch called the scrotum. So testes are present, first of all, outside the abdominal cavity in the scrotum. So why it is present in the scrotum? Because in scrotum, the temperature is lower as compared to the normal body temperature. So temperature is 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than the normal body temperature. And this temperature is necessary for spermatogenesis. Scrotum helps to maintain lower temperature, which is 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius less than the normal body temperature. This is necessary for sperm formation. Spermatogenesis means sperm formation. Okay, the testis is oval in shape. In adults, length is about 4 to 5 centimeter, width is about 2 to 3 centimeter. Now, testis is covered by a dense covering. Now, what is the name of this covering? So actually, there are two coverings of the testes: tunica vaginalis and tunica albuginea. Okay, so this tunica albuginea, this protects the testes. Clear? So there are two layers. Testes is surrounded by two coverings. So there are two coverings. tunica vaginalis, which is outside, and tunica albuginea, which is inside. And tunica albuginea protects the testes. Now, each testis had about 250 compartments, and these compartments are called testicular lobules. Okay. Now you can see here, this is a diagrammatical view of male reproductive system, and the part of the testis is open to show the inner details. So here you can see, okay, they have opened the testes and shown it to you. Clear? Now they have shown you the accessory ducts within the testes. Clear? So there are two testes. There is a pair of testes. Testes are present in the scrotum. Okay. Then you can see here retitestis, vas efferentia epididymis, vas deferens. These are all accessory ducts. Okay. All right. So this is clear. So now you can see here, they have listed the accessory glands also, seminal vesicles, prostate and bulbourethral gland. These are the accessory glands. Then you can see here, glans penis has been shown, which is the head of the penis, and foreskin is also shown here. So they have shown you accessory ducts. These are the accessory ducts here. And then they have shown you the accessory glands as well. They have shown you the primary sex organ, which is the testes. Penis is the external genitalia. Now each lobule, each testicular lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules in which sperms are produced. So question can come from here, where the sperms are produced. So sperms are produced in the seminiferous tubules. This is the site of the spermatogenesis. Okay. Now let's understand the anatomy of the seminiferous tubule. Now seminiferous tubule on the inner side, it consists of two types of cells. Seminiferous tubules are lined on the inside by two types of cells called the male germ cells. Male germ cells are called spermatogonia, and there is another kind of cells known as the Sertoli cells. So this spermatogonia, these are diploid cells. They are 2N, and they will have 46 chromosomes. In humans, diploid cell have 46 chromosomes. Okay. Now these spermatogonia, they are like stem cells because they can increase their number by mitosis. And clear? And meiosis occurs in spermatogonia to form haploid spermatozoa or sperm. Okay. So these spermatogonia are kind of stem cells because they can increase their number by mitosis, and they can also differentiate to form the primary spermatocyte. In this primary spermatocyte, then again meiosis occurs. Okay, and finally sperms are formed. So meiosis occurs in diploid cells. So in spermatogonia, meiosis occurs and these sperms are formed. So we will study the entire process how these sperms are formed. Okay, then Sertoli cells are also present. What is the role of Sertoli cells now? So Sertoli cells provide nourishment to the male germ cells. Okay. Now male germ cells, which are spermatogonia, they undergo meiotic divisions, finally leading to sperm formation, while Sertoli cells provide nourishment to the germ cells. Now, the regions outside the seminiferous tubules, these regions are known as interstitial spaces, and within these interstitial spaces, some small blood vessels and interstitial cells or Leydig cells are present. So interstitial cells are also known as the Leydig cells. Okay. Now, what is the function of this Leydig cell? This Leydig cell, they produce androgens. They produce male hormones. Okay, such as testosterone. So here you can see On the inner side of seminiferous tubule, spermatogonia, which is diploid, is present. Meiosis occurs in spermatogonia to form a haploid spermatozoa. So this will be haploid. It will contain 23 chromosomes. Then you can see Sertoli cells are present, which give nourishment to the male germ cells, and then interstitial cells, also known as Leydig cells, are also present. But these cells are present in the or towards the outer side of the seminiferous tubule, in the interstitial spaces. Now, Leydig cells synthesize and secrete testicular hormones called the androgens. Androgens are what? They are the male hormones. So, questions have already come from this line, you can say. So, what is the function of the Leydig cells? What is the function of Sertoli cells? Questions can come from here. Now, the male accessory ducts include retitestis, vas efferentia, epididymis, and vas deferens. So, these are all accessory ducts. So, again, question has come from here about, okay, question was regarding the accessory ducts. 2-time questions have come. Now, seminiferous tubule of the testes open into vas efferentia through the retitestis. So, now we will be talking about how the sperms are transported, okay, after they are formed. So, these sperms, they are formed in the seminiferous tubule. Okay, now what is happening? Okay, so the seminiferous tubule of the testis opens into vas efferentia through the retitestis. Sperms which were produced in the seminiferous tubule, they enter into, okay, or they are carried by the retitestis to vas efferentia. Or you can say from seminiferous tubules, sperm enter into retitestis and then into vas efferentia. Vas efferentia then carries sperm to epididymis. In epididymis, maturation of the sperm occur. Remember, the maturation of the sperm occur in the epididymis. Then what happens? From the epididymis, the sperm is carried by the vas deferens. So, sperm enters into vas deferens, you can say. And the vas deferens is connected to the duct coming from the seminal vesicles, which is an accessory duct. And you can say vas deferens combined with the duct of the seminal vesicle to form the ejaculatory duct. So, sperm will enter into ejaculatory duct and they will be finally carried outside the body through the urethra. So, you can see seminiferous tubules of the testes open into vas efferentia through the retitestis. Now, vas efferentia leave the testes and open into epididymis located along the posterior surface of the each testes. So, now vas efferentia will leave the testes and it will open into epididymis, okay, where maturation of the sperm will take place. Now, epididymis leads to vas deferens, clear, that ascends to the abdomen, and this vas deferens loops over the urinary bladder. So, it receives the duct, means this vas deferens. So, vas deferens forms a loop over the urinary bladder. This vas deferens receives the duct from the seminal vesicles and opens into urethra as the ejaculatory duct. Okay. So, these ducts store. So, what is the overall function of these accessory ducts? Overall function is that these ducts store, they transport the sperm, okay, or you can also add these ducts, they store, okay, they transport, as well as maturation of the sperms also takes place in these accessory ducts. Okay, so they store and transport the sperm from the testes to the outside through the vagina, through this urethra, okay, clear? So, this is the pathway. This is how the sperm will travel. Seminiferous tubule to retitestis, then to vas efferentia, then to epididymis, from epididymis to vas deferens, and then you will write about that vas deferens combines with the duct from seminal vesicles, it forms ejaculatory duct, and then ejaculatory duct, okay, finally transport the sperms outside the body through the urethra. Okay. Now urethra originates from the urinary bladder and extends through the penis to its external opening called the urethral meatus. So the opening of the urethra, this is known as urethral meatus. Clear? And urethra originates from where? Originates from the urinary bladder. Now the penis is the male external genitalia. Penis is made up of specialized tissues that helps in the erection of the penis. And this erection of the penis have facilitate the insemination process. Insemination is the transfer of the sperm into the female genital tract. Now the enlarged end of penis or the head of the penis, this is known as the glans penis. And this is covered by a loose fold of skin called the foreskin. Male accessory glands. Let's talk about male accessory glands. They include paired seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and paired bulbourethral gland. Now, secretion of these glands constitute the seminal plasma, which is rich in fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. So, this is a composition of the plasma. You can say this is the composition of the seminal plasma. Seminal plasma is a major constituent of the semen also. So secretion of these glands, these accessory glands, seminal vesicle, prostate and bulbourethral gland, constitute the seminal plasma. Seminal plasma rich in fructose, calcium and certain enzymes. Now you should know the individual role of these accessory glands. So seminal plasma, its secretions contain fructose. Okay, this fructose gives nourishment to the sperm. Then prostate gland, this prostate gland secretes some milky fluid, which is again the major component of the semen. Then bulbourethral gland. So what is the function of bulbourethral gland? It lubricates the penis and it also neutralizes the acidity of the urethra after urination. Now, secretion of bulbourethral glands also help in lubrication of the penis. Let's talk about the female reproductive system now. The female reproductive system also consists of a pair of ovaries. Means two ovaries are present. Ovaries are the primary sex organ. Okay. Means it will produce the gametes. Also female gamete, which is egg or ovum. And it will also produce the hormones such as estrogen and progesterone. So estrogen and progesterone, these are known as the ovarian hormones or steroid hormones because they are made up of steroid. So ovaries, they are the primary sex organs. So ovaries, beside ovaries, what is present? A pair of oviduct. Oviduct is the fallopian tubes. So there is a pair of oviduct, means there are two oviducts or two fallopian tubes, one arising from each ovaries. Clear? Or linked to each ovary. So there are two ovaries, so there will be two oviduct. Then you can say uterus, cervix, vagina. Okay. So oviducts, uterus and the vagina, they form the accessory ducts. Then external genitalia is also present and the female reproductive system is located in the pelvic region. So here's a diagrammatical section view of female pelvis showing the reproductive system. So here they have shown you what? They have shown you the uterus here. Okay, cervix they have shown you. Then they have mostly shown you here the external genitalia. Labia minora, labia majora, vaginal orifice. Clear? Clitoris can be seen here. Urethra, vagina, okay, anus, rectum, which is part of the digestive system. This is also shown here. Now, these parts of the system, along with the pair of mammary glands. So, mammary glands are also associated with the female reproductive system. Okay. These mammary glands, although they are not directly involved in the reproduction, but they are involved in the child care. As these mammary glands, they produce the milk. This milk is very nutritious. It also contains antibodies like immunoglobulin A. Okay. So mammary glands are also associated with the female reproductive system, although they are not directly involved in the reproduction. So mammary glands are integrated structurally and functionally to support the process of ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, birth, and the child care. So the female reproductive system, along with the mammary gland, it helps in or it supports the processes of ovulation, means release of the egg. Fertilization means fusion of the male and the female gamete. Pregnancy, birth, as well as the child care. Ovaries, they are the primary female sex organs that produce the female gamete, which is the ovum, and several steroid hormones known as the ovarian hormones. Okay. What are the ovarian hormones? Estrogen and the progesterone. Ovaries are located one on each side of the lower abdomen, and each ovary is about 2 to 4 centimeter in length and is connected to the pelvic wall and uterus by the ligaments. Here. So these ovaries, you can see they are connected to the pelvic wall as well as the uterus through by the ligaments. So these ligaments, okay, keep the ovaries in a particular place. Now, each ovary is covered by thin epithelium, which encloses the ovarian stroma. So ovarian stroma is present within the ovaries. The stroma is divided into two zones, the peripheral cortex and an inner medulla. Oviducts, also known as the fallopian tubes. Uterus, vagina, this constitute the female accessory ducts. Okay. Now each fallopian tube is about 10 to 12 centimeter long and extend from the periphery of each ovary to the uterus. Okay. And the part closer to the ovary is called funnel-shaped infundibulum. So part of the fallopian tube which is near to the ovary, this is known as infundibulum, and infundibulum has finger-like projections known as the fimbriae, and these fimbriae help to capture the sperm. Here you can see these are the different parts of the fallopian tube. So the part closer to the ovary, this is known as infundibulum. It is funnel shaped. It has finger-like projections known as fimbriae, and this fimbriae helps to collect the egg which is released by the ovum. Alright. So infundibulum, ampulla and isthmus. These are the three parts of the fallopian tube. So infundibulum leads to a wider part known as the ampulla. And remember, ampulla is the site of the fertilization. Means the egg and the sperm, they meet together in the ampullary region and then they fuse with each other to form the zygote. This takes place in ampulla. Then ampulla leads to a narrower region known as the isthmus. Okay. Clear? These are the ovaries. Then you can see here the uterine wall is also shown here. So uterine wall consists of three layers. Outermost is the membranous perimetrium. Then the middle one is known as the myometrium. And then innermost is the endometrium. Now, the myometrium is made up of smooth muscles. Okay, so these smooth muscles, they contract during the childbirth. Okay, there is one hormone also which stimulates this contraction in the myometrium. This is known as the oxytocin, also known as the birth hormone. Now, endometrium, you can see this is the innermost layer of the uterine wall. And this endometrium undergoes cyclic changes during the menstrual cycle, means its thickness will increase and decrease. When its thickness is very less, then there will be shedding of the endometrium and this will lead to bleeding. Now, this is, you can see isthmus, it leads to the uterine, it leads to the uterus. The lower part of the uterus, this is known as the cervix. Okay, clear? Then cervix leads to the vagina. And vagina along with the cervical canal, this forms the birth canal. The questions can come from here. And this diagram is also very important. Okay, the question has come in NEET 2024. Now, edges of the infundibulum possess finger-like projection known as fimbriae. Fimbriae helps in the correction of the egg after the ovulation. Infundibulum leads to a wider part known as the ampulla. Now, last part of the oviduct isthmus has a narrow lumen and it joins the uterus. Uterus is single and it is called as womb. Shape of the uterus is like inverted pear shape and it is supported by ligaments attached to the pelvic wall. Okay, again the uterus opens into vagina through a narrow cervix. So the cervix is the lower part of the uterus. Uterus leads finally into vagina. Okay. Now the cavity of the cervix is known as cervical canal, which along with the vagina forms the birth canal. So question can come from here. Birth canal is made up of what? So cervical canal along with the vagina, this forms the birth canal. Now the wall of the uterus has three types of tissues. The membranous perimetrium, which is outside, then the thick middle layer of smooth muscles, which is myometrium, and then endometrium is present. Clear? Endometrium is made up of glandular tissue, you can see. Myometrium is made up of smooth muscles. Perimetrium is membranous. Okay, this endometrium undergoes cyclic changes during the menstrual cycle. Now, endometrium undergoes cyclic changes during menstrual cycle, while the myometrium exhibits strong contraction during the delivery of the baby. Okay, let's talk about the external genitalia. Okay, female external genitalia. It includes mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and the clitoris. Mons pubis is a cushion of fatty tissues covered by skin and the pubic hair. Okay, so mons pubis is just fatty tissues which are covered by the hairs, pubic hairs. Then below to mons pubis is labia majora. So it is a fleshy fold of tissues which extend down from the mons pubis and surround the vaginal opening. Now labia minora, they are present under the labia majora and they are just paired fold of tissues. Now the opening of the vagina is partially covered by a membrane called the hymen. And then clitoris is also present. It is a finger-like structure which lies at the upper junction of the two labia minora above the urethral opening. Okay. So question can come from here. Where is clitoris present? So it is present at the upper junction of the two labia minora. Junction where these two labia majora, it will meet, upper junction. The clitoris is present at the upper junction of the two labia minora, just above the urethral opening. Hymen is often torn during the first coitus. Coitus is also known as the intercourse. Okay. So, but you can say hymen is not a reliable indicator. Okay. Or you can say the presence or absence of hymen does not indicate that the female has undergone some sexual activity. Because sometimes the hymen can even persist after the sexual intercourse. And sometimes hymen can break also due to, you can say, sudden jolt, okay, or due to some sports activity like swimming or cycling. That's why the presence or absence of hymen is not a indicator that the female has undergone sexual intercourse. Now, a functional mammary gland is characterized by characteristic of all female mammals. Let's talk about the mammary gland now. Although they are not directly involved in the reproduction, but they are involved in the milk production and child care. Mammary glands are paired structures known as the breast that contain glandular tissues. So question can come from here. These mammary gland consist of which kind of tissue? Glandular tissue. They consist of varying amount of fats also. Glandular tissue of each breast is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing cluster of cells called alveoli. Question can come from here. These alveoli cells, they secrete the milk. Now, cells of the alveoli secrete milk which is stored in the cavities of the alveoli. Now, alveoli open into mammary tubules and tubules of each lobe join to form the mammary duct. Okay. Several mammary ducts join to form the wider mammary ampulla, which is connected to the lactiferous duct through which the milk is sucked out. So milk, it is produced in alveoli, but it reaches the lactiferous duct. And when the baby sucks the nipples, and then the milk is sucked out from the lactiferous duct. So milk is produced in the alveoli, but it reaches the lactiferous duct. So this is the image of the mammary gland. This is sectional view of the mammary gland. So basically it consists of the fat tissues. It consists of the mammary lobe. These are the alveoli cells, okay, mammary alveolus. Then this is the mammary duct joined to form mammary ampulla. And then from the mammary ampulla, the milk finally reaches the lactiferous duct here. And then the milk is sucked out by the baby, okay, from the lactiferous duct. Let's talk about gametogenesis now. Gametogenesis means gamete formation. So primary sex organs, okay, they are involved in the gamete production as well as production of the hormones also. So in males, primary sex organ is testes. In females, primary sex organ is ovaries. In testes, sperm production occurs. In ovaries, egg production occurs or ovum production. Now let's talk about spermatogenesis now. Let's talk about the steps involved in the spermatogenesis. So spermatogonia which are diploid means they will contain 46 chromosomes. Okay. They produce sperm by a process known as spermatogenesis. And this spermatogenesis begins at the puberty. So remember, sperm production occurs after the male attains puberty. Okay. Now spermatogonia, they are present on the inner wall of the seminiferous tubule. These spermatogonia, they divide and they increase their number. So they divide by mitotic division, they increase their number. And some of the spermatogonia, they differentiate to form primary spermatocytes. Clear? So spermatogonia which are diploid, they undergo mitotic divisions to increase their number, and each spermatogonia is diploid and contains 46 chromosomes. Now some of the spermatogonia, they differentiate to form primary spermatocytes, and these primary spermatocytes undergo meiosis. So primary spermatocytes, these are also diploid, means they will have 2n number of chromosomes, which is equal to 46 in case of humans. Okay. Now the primary spermatocyte will undergo meiosis, and meiosis occur in two phases. meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Meiosis 1, after meiosis 1, 2 cells are produced and the chromosome number is reduced to half after meiosis 1. Then meiosis 2 is same as equational division. Clear? So after meiosis 1, 2 cells are formed. After meiosis 2, 4 cells are formed, which will be haploid. They will have n number of chromosomes. After meiosis 1 also, the 2 cells which are formed, they also have n number of chromosomes. Means in case of humans, they will have 23 chromosomes. Okay. So now from spermatogonia, primary spermatocytes are formed. Now meiosis 1 occurs in the primary spermatocytes. So primary spermatocyte completes its first meiotic division, which is the reduction division. There will be reduction in the number of chromosomes. Chromosome numbers are reduced to half. And primary oocytes, they get converted into secondary oocyte. So primary oocyte undergo meiotic 1 division, meiosis 1, to form secondary spermatocytes. So from one primary spermatocyte, two secondary spermatocytes are formed. So remember, this question can come from here, that from one primary spermatocyte, how many secondary spermatocytes are formed. So from one primary spermatocyte, two haploid secondary spermatocytes are formed. Then secondary spermatocytes undergo second meiotic division to produce 4 equal haploid spermatids. So spermatids will be haploid, means they will have 23 number of the chromosome. Now these spermatids finally transform into spermatozoa, also known as sperms, by the process called spermiogenesis. So question will come from here, spermiogenesis. So spermiogenesis is the transformation of the spermatid into the spermatozoa. Then after spermiogenesis, what happens? The sperm head becomes embedded in the Sertoli cells as it is attaining nutrients from the Sertoli cells, and then sperms are finally released from the seminiferous tubule by the process called spermiation. Okay. So what is spermiation? When the sperms, they are released from the seminiferous tubules, this is known as spermiation. So here you can see this is a diagrammatical sectional view of seminiferous tubules. So here on the inner side of the seminiferous tubule, spermatogonium is present, which will be diploid. It will have 46 number of chromosome. Sertoli cells are present, which give nourishment to the spermatogonia. Then primary spermatocytes, some of the spermatogonia, they transform into primary spermatocytes. Primary spermatocytes will be diploid. They will also have 46 number of chromosomes. Now primary spermatocyte will undergo meiosis 1 to form 2 secondary spermatocytes. Secondary spermatocyte will be haploid, means they will have 23 number of chromosome. Now secondary spermatocyte, okay, it will undergo meiosis 2 division to form 4 spermatids. So how many spermatids are formed? 4 spermatids are formed, which are haploid. And spermatid, they transform into spermatozoa, which will be haploid, and this is known as spermiogenesis. And then the sperms are released from the seminiferous tubule, which is known as spermiation. Remember, spermatogenesis starts at the age of puberty. Sperm formation starts at the age of puberty due to significant increase in secretion of gonadotrophin releasing hormone. Okay, and this hormone is released by the hypothalamus. Now, what does gonadotrophin releasing hormone do? So this gonadotrophin releasing hormone, its level increases and it stimulates the anterior pituitary, okay, to secrete 2 gonadotrophins. Okay, so these are luteinizing hormone and the follicle stimulating hormone. These are the 2 gonadotrophins. Now, luteinizing hormone acts at the Leydig cells and stimulates synthesis and secretion of the androgen. So here you can see these Leydig cells. This luteinizing hormone. What is the function of luteinizing hormone here? This is acting upon the Leydig cells, and in turn Leydig cells is stimulated to produce the androgens. Androgens are the male hormones. Okay, for example, testosterone. Now, what is the function of FSH? We'll talk about this also. So these androgens in turn stimulate the process of spermatogenesis, means sperm formation. So this is how the sperm formation or spermatogenesis starts at the puberty. Okay, gonadotrophin releasing hormone is involved here. Other hormones involved are luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormones. What is the role of follicle stimulating hormone? It acts on the Sertoli cells, and Sertoli cells starts to secrete some factors, and these factors are very important for the process of spermiogenesis, means transformation of spermatids into spermatozoa. So let's talk about the structure of the sperm. So sperm is composed of a head, neck, middle piece and tail. So the anterior part of the head, or the front of the head, upper region of the head, it consists of a cap-like structure known as the acrosome. This acrosome consists of the enzymes which helps the sperm to penetrate the egg. Okay. Then the neck region is present, and then the middle piece, and this middle piece consists of several mitochondria, and mitochondria, they are the source of the energy. They produce energy. Why energy is being produced? Because energy is utilized when the sperms are swimming. So sperms, they are motile because they have this tail, and for swimming energy is required. This energy is provided by the mitochondria which are present in the middle piece. This is the structure of the sperm. Sperm is surrounded by the plasma membrane. It consists of a head. Then, okay, the anterior part of the sperm consists of the acrosome. Acrosome consists of the enzymes like hyaluronidase and acrosin, which helps to digest the membranes of the ovum and helps in the penetration of the egg. Okay, means it is helping in the fertilization also, because after penetration, what will happen? The nucleus of the sperm will fuse with the nucleus of the egg. Now you can see here this head consists of the nucleus, which consists of the genetic material. So these gametes, they are haploid, means they have n number of chromosomes. They will have 23 number of chromosomes in humans, human male. Then there is a neck. Middle piece consists of several mitochondria. Mitochondria are the source of energy. This is the tail which helps in the swimming. Now plasma membrane envelops the whole body of the sperm. Sperm head contains nucleus and it consists of the acrosome. Acrosome is filled with enzyme helping the fertilization of the ovum. Middle piece consists of numerous mitochondria. It provides energy for swimming. Human male ejaculates 200 to 300 million sperms during the coitus, of which for normal fertility at least 60% of the sperms must have normal shape and size, and 40% of them must have vigorous motility. Now sperms released from the seminiferticule are transported by the accessory ducts. We have already discussed about this, how these sperms are transported across the accessory ducts to outside the body. Now secretion of epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles, prostate are essential for maturation and motility of these sperms. Seminal plasma along with the sperm constitute the semen. Okay. The function of male accessory ducts and glands are maintained by the testicular hormones, which are also known as the androgen. So seminal vesicle, prostate gland and bulbourethral gland, these are the accessory glands. Okay. Secretion of seminal vesicle, this is rich in fructose, which provide nourishment to the sperm. Then prostate gland secretions, they are quite milky and they form the major part of the semen. And then bulbourethral gland helps in the lubrication of the penis, and it also helps in the neutralization of the acidity due to the urination. So neutralization of acidity is very important, okay, for maintaining the sperm viability. Clear? So here you can see this is the schematic representation showing you spermatogenesis. So we'll focus on spermatogenesis now. So here you can see sperm formation starts at puberty. Here the chromosome number is written. So spermatogonia, these are diploid. They will contain 46 number of chromosome. So they will increase the number by mitosis. and they differentiate to form primary spermatocytes. So these red ones are spermatogonia, and then spermatogonia differentiate into primary spermatocytes. Primary spermatocytes will also be diploid. They will have 46 number of chromosomes. Primary spermatocytes undergo first meiotic division to form secondary spermatocytes. Okay, these were the primary spermatocytes. These are the secondary spermatocytes. Secondary spermatocytes undergo second meiotic division to form four haploid spermatids. So they will have 23 number of chromosomes. The spermatid will transform into spermatozoa by spermatogenesis. Okay, let's talk about oogenesis now. Oogenesis means formation of the female gamete, which is the egg, and it is quite different from the spermatogenesis. So let's see how it is different from spermatogenesis. So oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic development. This is the major difference. Spermatogenesis is initiated at the puberty in males, but oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic development. And millions of the oogonia, they are formed within each fetal ovary. And no more oogonia formed and added after the birth. So all the oogonia, they are formed in the fetal stage only. This is the difference. Oogenesis is being started in the embryonic stage only. Spermatogenesis starts at the puberty. Okay, now these oogonia, some of these oogonia, they differentiate to form primary oocytes. So primary oocytes are also formed before the, you can say birth of the female child. The question has come from here. Some of the oogonia will differentiate into primary oocyte, and this primary oocyte will now undergo meiosis 1. This will undergo meiosis 1, but it is arrested at the meiosis 1. So you can say here, oogenesis starts in the embryonic stage, but eggs are not formed. There is no menstrual cycle. Eggs are formed after the puberty. Menstrual cycle starts after the puberty. Okay, so no eggs are released, you can say, before the female attains the puberty. So why this is so? Because primary oocyte, they are arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis 1. And they resume their meiosis 1 division after the puberty. Till the primary oocyte, they are arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis 1. And when the female attains puberty, then this primary oocyte will complete its first meiotic division to form secondary oocyte. So secondary oocyte is formed after the puberty. Now let's understand the follicular development. These primary oocyte which are formed, which were arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis 1, these primary oocyte get surrounded by a single layer of granulosa cells, which is known as the, and now it is known as the primary follicle. So these granulosa cells protects the primary oocyte and also provide nourishment to the primary oocyte. Now this primary oocyte will transform into secondary follicle. Primary follicle will transform into secondary follicle now. Okay. So first of all, these primary follicles are formed and a large number of these follicles degenerate during the phase from birth to puberty. And only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are left in each ovary. So here you can see this is a diagrammatical sectional view of ovary. This primary follicle is formed. This primary follicle consists of the primary oocyte, which is arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis 1. Primary follicle will form secondary follicle. Secondary follicle will also consist of primary oocyte arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis 1. Then secondary follicle will transform into tertiary follicle. This tertiary follicle will also consist of the primary oocyte. And what is the characteristic feature of tertiary follicle? It consists of the antrum, which is fluid filled cavity. So question can come from here. What is the characteristic feature of the tertiary follicle? Now primary follicles get transformed into secondary follicles. Secondary follicle will also consist of primary oocyte. Secondary follicle then transform into the tertiary follicle, which is characterized by the presence of the antrum. Now you have to understand here this, that when the tertiary follicle is formed, now it also consists of the primary oocyte. Now when the tertiary follicle is formed, this primary oocyte will complete its division now. Okay, now the primary oocyte which is present in the tertiary follicle, it will complete its first meiotic division, and it will form the large haploid secondary oocyte and a tiny first polar body. So this division is unequal. Because a large haploid secondary oocyte is formed and a tiny first polar body is formed. So most of the cytoplasm of the primary oocyte, it retains with the secondary oocyte. Now why this is so? Because cytoplasm consists of a lot of nutrients and the organelles. Okay. So most of the or bulk of the cytoplasm of the primary oocyte remains with the secondary oocyte, and then secondary oocyte will undergo meiosis II to form a large ovum and a second polar body. So ovum also consists of large amount of cytoplasm, because ovum will get fertilized and it will form the embryo. So most of the cytoplasm retains with the secondary oocyte and then with the ovum also. Okay, so as to support the early embryo development. Okay, so now we have seen secondary oocyte is formed from the primary oocyte. The secondary oocyte will be haploid because it is being produced by meiosis. Secondary oocyte retains bulk of the nutrient in cytoplasm of the primary oocyte. Now tertiary follicle will now transform into mature follicle known as the Graafian follicle. This Graafian follicle, okay, this Graafian follicle will now consist of the secondary oocyte now. Okay, now the secondary oocyte forms a new membrane called zona pellucida around it. So question can come from this, which layer is formed around secondary oocyte. Now Graafian follicle ruptures. We will talk about this, how it ruptures. So there is an LH surge, luteinizing hormone surge. There is a rapid increase in luteinizing hormone. This luteinizing hormone causes the rupture of the Graafian follicle and the secondary oocyte, also known as the ovum. Okay, we call sometimes secondary oocyte as ovum also. Okay, because it later on forms the ovum only. So secondary oocyte is released from the ovary and this process is known as ovulation. So the question has come from here. Secondary follicle. So this Graafian follicle consists of secondary oocyte. Tertiary follicle consisted of primary oocyte. And primary oocyte divided when it was present in the tertiary follicle. Okay, but secondary oocyte is present in the Graafian follicle. Primary oocyte was present in the tertiary follicle. Okay, so Graafian follicle will rupture and there will be release of secondary oocyte. Here you can see this is oogenesis. So now you can see oogonia which were diploid. They will contain 46 number of chromosomes. These oogonia, they increase in number by mitosis, and some of the oogonia, they will differentiate to form primary oocyte, which will again be diploid. They will have 46 number of chromosome. So this is happening in the fetal life. You can see primary oocyte are formed in the fetal life. These primary oocyte, they get arrested in the meiosis I. So they get arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis I. Okay, and they complete their meiosis I after the female attains puberty. So you can see after the puberty, secondary oocyte is formed. Secondary oocyte is formed after the female attains puberty. Okay, so primary oocyte was formed in the fetal life only. It was arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis I. Then this was the birth of the, okay, this is the primary oocyte, okay, which will be diploid. Then this primary oocyte is arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis I. Then the female is born, still it is arrested, and then the female attains puberty. Then the primary oocyte divides, and this division is unequal. It forms a large oocyte and the first tiny polar body. This polar body can divide further mitotically, okay, or it degenerates because there is very less cytoplasm in this polar body. Then this secondary oocyte is also arrested in the metaphase 2 of meiosis II. Okay, then when the secondary oocyte comes in contact with the sperm, then it will complete its meiosis, this meiosis II, and it will form a large ovum and a second polar body. So here you can see in oogenesis the meiosis is incomplete. In spermatogenesis, meiosis was complete. Here the primary oocyte was arrested in meiosis I, in prophase 1 of meiosis I. Secondary oocyte was also arrested at the metaphase 2 of the meiosis II, and it resumes its division when it comes in contact with the sperm and forms a large ovum and a tiny second polar body. This second polar body also degenerates and the ovum, Okay, it will fertilize with the fuse with the sperm to form the zygote. So there are some major differences between oogenesis and spermatogenesis. Okay, so spermatogenesis initiates at the puberty, oogenesis initiates in the fetal life, in the embryonic stage. Then you can see in spermatogenesis what is happening. Meiosis is complete. Here in oogenesis, meiosis is not complete. The cells are arrested in the meiosis. Okay, then the sperm formation occurs, or it continues throughout the life of the male, but the eggs are only formed till a particular age in the females. So they are only formed, you can say, till 50 years of age in the females. Okay, but the sperms are formed throughout the life of the males, although the viability is less. Clear? Then polar bodies are formed in case of oogenesis. No polar body is formed in spermatogenesis. Clear? So this was the end of this session. I hope this session was quite knowledgeable for you. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you very much for listening.